Next.
The next audience member said that her interest in the Israel-Palestine conflict comes from her background as a Christian. She said she was neither pro-Palestinian nor pro-Israeli, but that she was pro-truth, pro-information and knowledge, and was trying to understand the United States military presence, political views, and so on. She said that Dr. Finkelstein had not spoken of the spiritual call that Jewish people have to be in the land and why they are called to be there. And in Christian circles of the Presbyterian Church where this person attends and does Bible studies, she said that older people, people in their 60s who are scholars, missionaries, people who are engineers, doctors, and physicians, their very strong belief is that the Jews are called to be in the land. She says that this goes back through the history of the Bible, of Abraham, and the covenant that God had with Abraham, and from Abraham to Isaac and Ishmael, and from Isaac and Ishmael to the Jewish tribe and land, and to the Arab tribes. So, she said, from the very beginning of Abraham's descendants, there has been conflict. And then, she said, we come to the modern day, to Hollywood, and a recent movie about Jerusalem, where you learn about Saladin, and the rise and fall of Jerusalem, and how many times it has changed hands between Jewish and Arab peoples of the region. She said she was trying to understand the Jewish-Arab conflict. She found it interesting, not knowing much about either culture, that there were so many similarities between Arabs and Jews. In very many ways, their cultures, their faiths, their beliefs, their customs, their laws, food, holidays, and so on. She asked Dr. Finkelstein, how would you address the spiritual call, the tie that each of these peoples believe they have with the land, and what they believe is the covenant between God and Abraham?
Well, maybe my answer is going to disappoint you, but I don't think that's what politics is about.
Maybe
And what? Yeah, I'm gonna. But
maybe not the politics in Washington.
yeah, but
politics in Ohio,
yeah, but okay, fair
the
enough.
common man.
No, that's fair enough. But my point is, once you go in that direction, the conflict becomes unresolvable. That's why when we look for resolutions of conflicts, we look for political principles or legal principles in order to guide us. When the International Court of Justice has to decide to whom does the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem belong, and I'm not meaning this facetiously, I'm meaning it as a factual matter. They don't look into the Bible. They don't look into Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and whoever. There's no reason to applaud, because I don't want in any way diminish people's spiritual feelings, and I can understand that. It's not my cup of tea. I happen to be an atheist, but it's, not alien to me. I can understand it. The point is, I don't think as a political issue, that's the way you can resolve these questions. You take the American history of the American South. I'm sure you're aware that a large amount of the rationalization for the enslavement and then the Jim Crow laws against African Americans go back and read, because they were descendants of Ham and all the rest. And they found all of these biblical justifications for what they were doing. Now, with the American Supreme Court, is that the standard that they used in Brown versus the Board of Ed? No, obviously you use legal, political criteria in order to resolve the conflict. Because once you go in your direction, it plainly is not resolvable. You start each, it's like anyone in this room. Everyone in this room understands that concept. If I were to walk up and knock on your door, you, and say, according to the Bible in my hand, it so happens that your house is located on a piece of land to which I have deep spiritual ties. So I'm taking your house. Well, what would you say? If you would probably say I should make a beeline for Bellevue, But that's the same principle. It's the same principle. She's going to say, I have legal title to that land. and that legal title takes priority over whatever spiritual links, whatever spiritual claims you may have to it.
And I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying.
As a follow-up, this audience member said that Dr. Finkelstein needed to understand the emotion of the conflict and the faith involved in the conflict. She said, "You have Arab terrorists, suicide bombers." She was interrupted by another member of the audience, who said he was not a terrorist, that he was an Arab, but that he was not a terrorist. And he asked that she not say Arab terrorist. He said that such a phrase is insulting his people. "My people are loving people. They are nice people. I am one of them, and we don't hurt people." He said that you need to read L'Amitié Judéo-Arabe by Thierry Desjardins, a French journalist. And he said if you read that book, you will understand. People often talk about Christian Judeo-civilization, but they always ignore what became of Judeo-Arab civilization. Judeo-Arab friendship, when the Jews were protected by Muslims from the Inquisition and the torture and the killing. That's why they fled to North Africa. They didn't go north. This audience member said that Arabs protected the Jews until the ends of the earth. "We, the Arabs," he said. "We protected them from the Americans, from the Germans. My parents died in Algeria to protect the French and the Jews," he said.
I apologize for using that
Can we
word.
get another question?
Okay, let me, go ahead, sir.
The next question asks about the political rise of Zionism and its usefulness in the United States. I wonder if there is a different reason for the rise of Christian Zionism, or was it that Christian Zionism arose at the same time as Jewish Zionism in the United States?
I'll tell you the truth, I don't know much. I've read on the topic, but I can't really speak to its origins. Personally, I think that there's a certain amount of exaggeration about this Christian Zionism claim. It's true that there's a lot of crazy Christians, Zionists, who believe in all sorts of weird things like rapture and whatever else. And there's a lot of people out there who believe that. There's no question. But if you look at the Christian Zionist political agenda, Israel's not high on the agenda. It's mostly social issues. It's abortion, gay marriage, things like that. Israel is an item. But it's not an item on which, for example, Christian Zionists vote or don't vote you up or vote you down. The agenda is a pretty narrowly social agenda and not a political one. That's my impression. I think there's been a certain amount of exaggeration about the Christian Zionism in order to pretend that the Israel lobby is not just Jewish. No, it is fundamentally Jewish. Yes?